My guess about the real reason so many companies are starting to oppose remote work WFH. I have been thinking a lot about this recently. I've seen the surface reasons for why a company would oppose WFH, but I don't really buy that as the entire reason. It's more than just about real estate, FaceTime, or helping the new hires acclimate better. The opposition to WFH is because WFH challenges the culture of fear that is used to keep workers working, underpaid, and stuck. It's like companies are mostly all indirectly in collusion with one another because they see and know the threat of working at home. It shifts the power that is almost entirely stacked at the feet of the employer over to the worker. They don't care about productivity. They mostly care about the veneer of productivity with an actual prerogative of control and to a certain extent demoralization. If you are demoralized, you will more easily lose sight of your value and you will become complacent with that competitive wage. Demoralized, you will also be less likely to try to rise up or rekindle any power or luxury you once had. You are less likely to challenge inequities in the workplace if you are demoralized. Employers are waging a carefully worded battle against us. The real opposition to WFH, I believe, comes from the same visceral place within employers that oppose unionizing. The West, particularly the United States, is extremely sick in terms of labor and cultural practices. That too, and corporate real estate is actively losing money if they don't have an office. WFH increases choice available to workers, which means more bargaining power, which means higher wages. Higher wages for workers equals lower profits for shareholders. This is class war, pure and simple. Real estate issues are secondary. It also threatens the management positions. You would have less need for managers if staff are working from home, since you'd easily be able to see their productivity. Managers tend to cause problems so they can create a solution to appear relevant. WFH is one of the biggest threats to their high-paying jobs and they don't like it. I don't think it's one reason. Some may do it for control. Some may do it because seeing everyone in one place gives them visual validation, to stoke their ego. Some are probably receiving kickbacks from the city for giving business to local restaurants around business parks. Probably a ton more. It's easier to change jobs if all possible WFH are WFH. It also helps with gerrymandering emo. I agree with you. Real estate bubbles are red herrings. This is a way to kill off work-life balance. Always look to the money. If WFH becomes the norm, corporate real estate values crater and some really rich people lose a lot of money. It's happening, the only question will be how many leave suckers holding the bag before getting out. They're buying time to escape. Meanwhile, newer companies already forming WFH employee pools are benefiting from needing less space leased, bought, and running smaller offices at lower operating costs. Tick, tick, business dinosaurs. Tax credit from the gov, workers shop and eat around the office, using commutes, etc. Gov is worried that there's going to be an impact, so give tax credit to companies if their workers return to an office. I mean, commercial real estate is the reason, but I'm not going to disagree with most of your post. My company owns the entire corporate campus. No mortgage, nothing. It's a sunk cost and they want us there as much as possible. I think it's also a way to lay off workers without having to lay off workers. That and the real estate issues. Michael Needorf, former CEO of Centene, told us that he opposed WFH because, who would sit in all these seats? We can't have an office with empty seats. His next point was to make sure we all knew that PTO would never be rolled over year to year because it was a business liability and fraught tooth and nail to try and not comply with an Arizona law that guarantees all foot workers a minimum of 5 days of sick leave. He wanted everything to be in one pot because it's just simpler that way. Managers think you are drinking on the job, playing video games, or generally screwing off. Unfortunately, there is often at least one employee who will validate the manager's belief, And the solution will usually be to get everyone back in the office, because it is the easiest solution for them. I'm pretty sure this is mostly how these people think and the main reason they want people back in the office. To add to your point, an employee who gets up earlier and comes back later due to commute tired as FCK, deflated, will likely spend the rest of the evening Netflixing chilling after doing their chores. An employee who works from home full of energy, got their chores done during the day, can spend time in the evening learning new skills and passively actively looking for new opportunities. Employers certainly don't want that lol. For it might be that way. But I really doubt that's it. There are people out there with a massive monetary incentive to keep offers to life's big cities, office landlords, downtown businesses, banks who don't want to be stuck with buildings they can't resell. You bet they're all doing pressure to keep offices alive. The only civil war is class war. I would argue that this is the same reason so many business owners hate the Affordable Care Act and the idea of Medicare for all. They like businesses having the control of being the main provider of health insurance for the working public. Prior to the ACA, many people hated their job, but only stayed because they needed the health insurance. The pandemic made many people realize they could retire early from a job they hated. The ACA made this possible. A recent survey showed job satisfaction is now at a 37-year high. Many of the people who hated their jobs have simply quit. It is also infinitely easier to job search if employees are WFH. No need to call out sick or hide whilst taking calls. There is nothing indirect about the collusion. It's pretty simple. Trillions of dollars in commercial real estate. My company is encouraging people to WFH so they can reduce overhead and get rid of some offices. To each their own, I guess. WFH challenges the culture of fear. My company is actually 3 companies in a trench coat. I mean literally, there are 3 and 2 of them are work from home 100 and mine is 60 WFH 2 set days in the office for me every week. And this makes perfect sense. The only one C-level is upset about WFH continuing indefinitely, and he's the one who spends most of his day meandering around the office, talking about non-work things, and distracting the staff. The managers who, manage well? They're good. They enjoy the freedom as much as their staff do. The problem with WFH is the people do their job without managers and people alike watching them and they turn out to do their job like they supposed to. Meaning managers and people alike are unnecessary. They are the ones that want people back for place excuse here. Otherwise they lose their job. Real estate for the bigwigs and individual power from middle management. Corporate real estate is the reason, is going from asset to cost. A few weeks back I was downvoted for mentioning real estate. We've come full circle. The city also tries to pressure the companies since they are losing income tax to the suburbs. The real reason is real estate. Think it's the value of commercial real estate. It's getting crushed right now. Lots giant corporations also own properties, collect rent, etc. etc. If I was an employer I would embrace remote work. Your talent pool is just so much bigger to choose from and the level of productivity is extremely high. In fact I wouldn't even monitor hours, I would just measure results. The bar would be extremely high, but so long as the results surpass the bar, my employees would be free to use their time as they see fit. I would pay for results, not bodies. Maintaining control over employees is absolutely a major contributing factor, but so are commercial real estate values. From experience, I believe it's BC a few WFH employees do very little work and it's a lot easier to pull everyone back into the office versus properly disciplining those that are taking advantage. If someone with power can't walk into an office and do their dumb fucking dog and pony show wandering around criticizing people and or threatening their jobs for not looking busy enough, then they don't want it.